Hello, learners, and welcome to yet another session. And in this session, we're going to talk about sponsorship and brand association. What is sponsorship and how does it impact uh, events and their association with brands? How do brands perceive events as an opportunity? And what should events or event managers do to achieve a right balance between bringing brands on board and creating a formidable association? So let's dive in and look at some of the concepts of sponsorship and brand association. As they say, to sell stars, you need to shine bright. Sponsorship and brand association is all about selling your stars, your events to a potential client. And unless they're shining bright and they're outshining the others, it's very difficult to bring in an association with a brand. So it's critical that we look at sponsorship as an opportunity where we engage with brands, we engage and bring them on board to buy into the experience that events are trying to sell to a like minded consumer who potentially is also a prospect for the brand. So, what is sponsorship? When it all began in the olden times, sponsorship was a term devised to patronize an initiative. Often, the rich and famous would dole out charity to institutions, to foundations, to associations, to trusts, to social and community organizations, so that they could get acknowledgement, so that they could get known in the community, so that they would be known for their gregariousness or uh, their benevolence and how they could earn social goodwill. So, whenever money was given away or anything in kind was given away, to an organizer, it was perceived that this was coming as a charitable benevolence, which was done by the sponsor or by the person who was giving the money, enabling the organization to acknowledge that this money would be utilized to execute the event, but at the same time, they would take that opportunity in the event to thank the uh, sponsor and tell him how grateful they were because it was his benevolence, it was his money that enabled the event to happen. As times evolved, sponsorship was solicited by organizers of sports, musicals, performing arts, theater, etc., against the opportunity for brands and clients to get associated with an event. This would earn the brand social goodwill. People would recognize it as a good corporate citizen. Uh, it was also helping the brand in generating a positive CSR. Also, commercial recognition in the form of branding, in the form of presence, in the form of logos, would set the attendees to take and look up and take notice of the brand who was sponsoring it. And of course, that's how the events in the olden time were perceived. The word sponsorship was still perceived as a semi charity initiative until the early 90s, where brands started perceiving events as valid engagements of commercial purpose. So it was here that the brand started asking about what is the reach? How many people will this engage? How many will be offline? How many will be online? Where all will my brand be seen? How will the brand be perceived by people? What kind of audiences will get engaged? Who is your target group? This became a evolution and a turnaround where sponsorships slowly became uh, a different term. And today, if you look at the sponsorship scenario, it's a far more different and far more complex arrangement between organizers of events and brands than what it was earlier. So, sponsorship and its sales was still relegated in the early 90s to branding opportunities, sampling to live audiences, logo presence in commercial mainstream media like hoardings and ads in papers and radio commercials and TV commercials. But there was nothing really tangible except the physical event, which had a limited number of attendees. And here was the challenge where, when I looked at the cost per acquisition for a brand, it became difficult for event companies to justify the amount that was being asked for sponsorship. So while the ticket size of the sponsorship was a huge amount, eventually the number of people that attended the event live and actually experienced the brand messaging in some way or the other, and would have an opportunity to recall that brand, were not so large enough to justify the cost of acquisition. And that's the turnaround or the turning point, as I would determine, which changed the entire business for a very, very long time to come. So, what is the context of sponsored events? Today's events are all about engagement and immersiveness. Events are about building communities and talking to them about their likes. Uh, it's all about telling people, hey, what's the color that you like the most, or what's the uh, smell or essence that you like the most, or what is the most favorite thing that you like to eat, or what entertains you. So communities are built around various planks. It could be social, it could be economic, it could be cultural, it could be interests, it could be ambitions, it could be aspirations, it could be dreams. Communities around the world which are participating in events, whether it is music, art, sports, performing arts, culture, literature, uh, even religion, are all about experiences of like-minded individuals coming together for a common goal. Now, brands are looking deep into such communities and saying, hey, is there a buyer for me there? Is there someone who will eventually latch onto my product and say, yes, while I was here to pray, or while I was here to sing, or while I was here to see my favorite act perform, I think I like this brand who was on stage, who got engaged with me, who made me, endure an experience. I got to touch, I got to sense, I got to feel what the brand stands for. It stands for me, and therefore I think I would buy that brand. So bringing people together to experience art, music, sport, entertainment with a common goal for wholesome experiences that will lead to memories and recall is what is the context of most sponsored events today. Today's events are all about storytelling, and brands want to weave themselves into these stories. Today's events are more about customization, and most events are built around brands and communities and not the other way around. There is no charity, there is no goodwill anymore. There is no social status. It's not about, I want to be recognized in society as a goodwill ambassador, and therefore I must pay into an event to be seen and to be heard. No, it's about binds. It's about saying, if I am there, will I get to sell my brand? Will I get to reach out to my customer? Will I be able to impact him? Will I be able to create an impression? Will I be able to convert him for life? Today's sponsored events are not about how many saw the brand live, or not about how many experienced it live. It goes much beyond that spectrum. So today it's also about how many did not see the event, but still experienced the brand, albeit offline. How many got a chance to hear about the brand? How many got a chance to see the brand, even though they were not physically present at the event? How many got to experience it off air? How many got a chance to understand what the brand stands for? How many got a chance to participate in experiences that were not confined to the venue, but were extended beyond it in the form of social, uh, online, radio, television, and many other multimedia options that were available as a part of the marketing of the event. The paradigm shift to partnership from sponsorship is what is the key learning of this session. Sponsorship is today an outdated word. I think you should delete it from your dictionary, because today's communication or today's engagement of brand who is a buyer and an event who's a seller is about partnership. Brands are coming to events to engage and partner and talk to a unified audience, talk to an audience which resonates the same feeling that they would to the brand which they want to buy, or to the event which they want to buy to attend. So any ticketed event or any attendee event or any invitee event today where it is engaging with an audience, remember, they are selling a proposition to the invitee to come and be a part of that particular activity. And here is where the brand is looking at saying, the guy who comes, or the person who comes and attends this event, is he a potential buyer for me? How can I tell him my story in those 3 hours that he's going to be engaged on this event? How do I immerse him in that experience, which is the event, and subtly push in my product and tell him that I mean the same emotion as what the event means to him, and therefore he should buy into me. So today, brands partner events. Today, brands bring in their experience and merge it with event experiences. Today, brands partner with events that talk to the same set of buyers or consumers. Today, brands invest in events to build a consumer base. So it's not about saying I would be a part of this event only this year, but it's about saying that I will join you this year, build a level of acclimatization with my audiences, repose my messages, and come back the next year to the same audience and repose again and connect with a newer set of people and engage again. So I want to keep the conversation going. I want to be recognized with the events imagery, and every time somebody recognizes that event, he recognizes it as an event which is owned by the brand. So today, if you look at a Filmfare Awards, okay, the most easiest recalled name is of a brand which was typically not allowed to sell in a consumer market. It was a taboo brand which came in the form of chewing tobacco. But today, it still is remembered as one of the key associations with that set of film awards. If you look at the Mumbai Marathon today, till a very long time, and in fact, till very recently, it was known for its association with one of the leading international banks, and that was Standard Chartered. So it was by default called the Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon, or the Standard Chartered Marathon. It's only recently when Tata took over, it now is known as the Tata Mumbai Marathon. But again, the kind of resonance that Standard Chartered created over the years with the word marathon, and they use that same leverage to talk internationally. So whenever it came to running, or whenever it came to running and the concept of running in a city, be it Singapore, be it Boston, be it UK, be it Dubai, be it Mumbai, Standard Chartered was synonymous with running and running the marathon. It was all about challenging the human spirit and getting on the road and running for good. So here for good was the line that Standard Chartered used. And when it got associated with the marathon, it got that line extended to saying running for good. So it associated the concept of running with goodwill, with humanness, with kindness, with the concept of doing community services, and it got a lot of NGOs also engaged into the marathon and thereby raised funds for them. So not only did it leverage its branding purposes, but it also leveraged its CSR initiatives using the marathon as a plank. So this is what we call about partnership with events. Brands today are looking at a much bigger value chain benefit over conventional, pay money, get the few logos, be seen in a few places, be heard in a few places. It's not about that. It's all about a wholesome experience. It's all about saying, I want to be a part of that whole story, which will be told from the time the event is announced to the time the event ends, and even go beyond it. So the factors that lead to a buying from brands today is profile of attendees. Who is going to attend this event online and offline? What kind of audiences are going to be engaged? On what kind of mediums are going to engage? So if it's radio, is it prime time radio or is it late night radio, which the youth listens to? Uh, what is the reach and penetration? How many people will you reach? While events are one to many, brands are looking at events to today reach one to millions. Because while the venue is confined to a certain space of people, the world out there in terms of communication outreach is far bigger. So today on Instagram, if I am talking through a celebrity influencer, I'm talking to millions of fans. Today, if I am on a radio or a television program, I'm talking to millions of fans. So the purpose of connecting with audiences and the purpose of reaching out to audiences is not just about just being there and showcasing the brand imagery, but it's also about reaching out to many, many people and connecting with them on a larger scale. What is the price to reach or acquire each attendee? So today clients are looking at cost per target. If I'm spending 1 rupee, okay, how many people will I reach in that 1 rupee? So for every rupee spent on a brand association, clients are looking at both tangible and intangible benefits of reach and penetration and the cost of acquisition, which would be required to engage with each attendee and tell them about the brand. How integrated is the event's ideology to that of the brand? So if I am vibrant, if I am youthful, if I am uh, uh, something that is more social, if I am going to be something that is rebellious, does the event speak the same lingo? Does the event talk about the same attributes? So how integrated are the attributes of the event and the styling, look and feel, engagement patterns, uh, distribution patterns, uh, uh, performance patterns, visual patterns of the event, and how similar are they to the brand's own attributes? This becomes again a deciding factor for many brands to buy into an event. Also, most brands, as I said in the earlier slide, also is saying, how will I enable the brand to build a long-term association? So as I said, it is about community buy-ins. So today, if I'm engaging with an event, I'm looking at it as a long-term perspective because I want to keep coming back to this event. I want to keep talking to the same audience and I want to keep talking to new attendees and then get them into my brand world. That is where I'm looking at sustenance. And if after the event, if there are opportunities to communicate again with the same community, using the event as a leverage, then I am all the more happy to buy into such events, which are talking pre, during, and post events. So what is the future of brand associations? Brands will only invest in experiences that are used or perceived valuable to its community of buyers or prospects. Brands will not put in money on events that don't engage their buyers. Okay. So if the buyer community and the attendee community is similar, brands will get associated. Brands will look at how well does the event story pan out, and how does it resonate not only its own experience, but also the brand's experience in all its forms, as I said, pre, during, and post event. Brands will look at how events continue to communicate with its attendees and fans, building a lasting bond. Today, if you look at a classic example of the Spoken Fest, which is being done by Commune, uh, this particular event has been built around engagements which led to the Spoken Fest. And post the event, they have continued to do smaller events to build smaller pockets of community. So while Spoken was relegated to Mumbai and Delhi, today the chapters of Spoken in the form of the community which Commune created are resonating across the Indian landscape. So whether it is an event in Ahmedabad, or whether it's an event in Bengaluru, or whether it's an event in Indore, they have been doing smaller versions of Spoken, and the brand continues to sponsor, continues to get associated with this event, thereby leveraging and milking the community and keeping the voice and the share of voice alive with its audiences. This is what, in true sense, is what brand associations and the longevity of brand associations is going to be in the future. So, when we talk about events, when we talk about experiences, remember, sponsorship is today an evolved term. The term is brand associations. Brands will get associated with events only and only when they see an audience which is a buyer of their ideologies, of their products, of their services. They will want to continue to talk to this audience over and beyond the event. They will want to engage with this audience on a long-term perspective. And if this engagement is going to happen on a continuous basis, there is going to be a partnership that will evolve into a long-term association. So look at sponsorships, look at brand associations as a cell of your shining stars. Your events are your stars, which will shine only and sell only when you look at storytelling with a brand integrated into your story. So thank you so much for joining in, and I wish you all the best. God bless and Godspeed.